Pep Guardiola, one of the most successful and innovative coaches in the history of football, has faced numerous challenges throughout his career. However, the 2020-2025 season with Manchester City has tested his ability to adapt and evolve. This video from Daily Soccer Planet analyzes the tactical problems that have affected the team during this campaign, exploring how expectations, injuries, rival adjustments, and the coach's own decisions have influenced the performance of the City squad. The absence of Rodri is felt. With the nickname Rodri's team gaining traction, many fans are wondering if Guardiola's tactics are overrated. When key players are missing, doubts arise about Guardiola's ability to orchestrate victories. In the past, he has often wanted to make comparisons. However, each attempt seems to lead to misunderstandings. So, let's focus only on Guardiola. The reality is that he has struggled to elevate average players to new heights, as evidenced by his team's inability to achieve miraculous comebacks in the Champions League when key figures are missing. Guardiola's success in securing league titles and Champions League trophies has largely depended on having world-class players at their peak. When these stars decline or cannot be replaced, as happened in his previous stints at Barcelona and Bayern Munich, the teams have faltered. Currently, Manchester City seems to lack key contributors in their prime, and Guardiola has struggled to maximize the potential of the good but not extraordinary talent that remains in the squad. Even with so much talent at his disposal, Guardiola should not be suffering a 4-0 defeat. The squad has enough quality to withstand such setbacks. If the fans argue that Rodri's absence is the only reason for the collapse, are they not also admitting that Guardiola's backup signings have been failures? Moreover, if Rodri is absent for an extended period, one must question City's chances in the Champions League this season. It is evident that this dilemma does not only revolve around Rodri. It highlights Guardiola's failure to adapt his strategy and ensure that his internationally experienced squad can compensate for his absence. These players would be starters at most other Premier League clubs. However, Guardiola's inability to get them to perform at their maximum potential raises questions. Reflecting on recent performances, particularly against Spurs, it is easy to see how the opposition has taken possession so easily. This points to a tactical problem rather than a mere deficiency in player quality. The imbalance in defense. One of the most evident problems has been Manchester City's defensive imbalance. Although Guardiola has opted for his characteristic possession system, defensive transition has been a weak point. Rivals have exploited the spaces left by the fullbacks, joining the attack and the lack of speed in the central defense. Ruben Dias and Josko Gvardiol, key players of the defense, have had difficulties dealing with fast forwards on counterattacks. The implementation of a three-defender system, with John Stones as a sweeper midfielder, has not yielded the expected results. The lack of cohesion and the disconnections between lines have resulted in costly mistakes. As an example, the defeat against Tottenham in the Premier League, where 2 goals came from lost balls in transition. If you're passionate about soccer and love staying updated on everything happening with transfers, the latest news, and analyses like Guardiola's tactical struggles during his crisis with Manchester City, subscribe to our channel to stay informed about everything happening in the beautiful game. Dependence on Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland's offensive dependence has been another problematic factor. While the Norwegian has maintained an impressive scoring pace, 12 goals, the team has shown a concerning lack of creativity when he is not at his best. Offensive midfielders, such as Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva, have suffered injuries that have recurrently slowed them down, limiting their impact. Additionally, wingers like Jack Grealish and Phil Foden have had inconsistent performances, making it difficult to break through rival defenses that effectively regroup. Problems in midfield. The midfield, traditionally the engine of Guardiola's game, has undergone a transformation this season. Rodri's injury at the start of this season left a void in terms of leadership and ability to reach the area. Mateo Kovacic and Mateus Nunes have not managed to fill that gap with the same level of consistency and adaptation. This has led to an increase in unforced errors and a reduced ability to control the pace of the game. The result has been a less dominant midfield and more vulnerable to the high pressures from rivals. Lack of tactical variation. Despite his reputation as a tactical innovator, Guardiola has been criticized this season for his lack of flexibility in certain key matches. The insistence on maintaining a short ball exit from the back has been counterproductive against teams with aggressive pressing, such as Brighton and Tottenham. Moreover, the absence of an obvious Plan B has limited City's ability to turn around adverse situations. Injuries and lack of depth. Injuries have been a recurring factor in Manchester City's problems, apart from Rodri's injury this season. Kevin De Bruyne was out for the first few months due to a muscle injury, while key players like Grealish, Stones, and Kyle Walker have also suffered prolonged absences. This has highlighted a lack of depth in certain key positions, especially in midfield and defense. Man City's achievements in recent seasons have placed Pep Guardiola in discussions about the greatest of all time. But what happens when the flow of elite talent runs dry? Guardiola's previous successes stem from having access to a rich variety of resources. But what happens if that luxury fades? The external pressure and the difficulty of reversing the situation. Many believe that Guardiola is among the best, but if he cannot adapt without top-level reinforcements, his status must be reconsidered. Observing the historical context, coaches like Wenger, Ferguson, and Klopp have excelled in developing exceptional talent from modest beginnings. If Guardiola truly possesses that transformative magic, it has not been evident during this challenging period. If he leads City to a title with Rodri injured, perhaps the conversation will change. However, skepticism persists if he continues to falter without optimal conditions. The criticism has sometimes fallen on those who question Guardiola's ability in press conferences after a 4-0 victory. The Spurs could have benefited more from a defeat, as the pressure would have increased to refine their strategy against teams that don't come out to play. Ultimately, the unpredictability of football remains. As the season progresses, the narratives will only intensify, and the possibility of future surprises cannot be ruled out. In conclusion, while Guardiola's genius is often discussed, his resilience in the face of adversity remains to be seen. The coming weeks will be critical in shaping our understanding of both him and this Manchester City team. With injury crises everywhere, the dynamics of the Premier League are changing, and every match matters more than ever. What's your opinion on Guardiola's management at the moment? Is it just a rough patch, or are we witnessing the limits of his tactical philosophy? Leave us your comments or suggestions below. We want to hear your perspective.